What would you do if the man who told you to get rid of the baby showed up months later, just in time to witness the child being born? And what if he never knew the truth, that you never went through with it? This isn't just a story about betrayal. It's about a woman who was left humiliated and told she was nothing, only to rise again stronger, with a heartbeat growing inside her and a promise to never look back. But fate had other plans. When he saw her pregnant, radiant, and no longer his, he fell to his knees. But was it too late? Stay with us, because this story will take you from heartbreak to healing, from silence to redemption. And just when you think it's over, it delivers a twist that will leave you breathless. What if forgiveness isn't a word, but a choice lived every day? Let's begin. Did you ever stand at an altar and realize the person waiting for you was already walking away in their mind? Debbie Taylor did. On an unseasonably warm October afternoon in Cedar Hill, Illinois, she stepped into St. Paul's Church, wearing a pearl-white rental dress and a heart loud enough to drown out the pipe organ. Ryan Mitchell, immaculate in a slate-gray tux, kept his posture sharp, yet his eyes remote, as if the vows were a layover on a flight to someplace he'd rather be. Abby caught the briefest flicker of emotion when she stumbled on the first step. Ryan's hand twitched forward, then retreated before offering help. The congregation mistook the moment for nerves. Abby mistook it for love, attempting to surface. Both were wrong. Ryan's mind was back in college, remembering Samantha Brooks, the girl his parents had sworn was wrong for the family name. Their pressure pushed Sam across the country, and Ryan into a marriage of convenience he called responsibility. The ceremony rolled by like a corporate briefing, efficient, polite, soulless. Only Grandma Edna wept openly, whispering a prayer that love might sprout in barren soil. Abby believed the same. That night, in a lakeside B&B 2 hours from town, she unpacked silk camisoles and fresh hope. Ryan unpacked silence. When she asked him if the room was too cold, he simply adjusted the thermostat and climbed into bed back first, claiming jet lag from a flight he never took. Their honeymoon ended with a thank you email from the innkeeper and a car ride so quiet Abby could hear the tires crush autumn leaves. At home, she fought stillness with color, sticky notes on the fridge. Fingers crossed for your board meeting. Love you. She cooked chili, how he liked it, heavy on spice, light on beans. Ryan ate standing, scrolling through numbers on his phone like they were coordinates guiding him away. Weeks melted into a season. On a rainy Tuesday, Abby's flu spiked. Ryan pressed a cold washcloth to her forehead. For one fragile hour, he stayed, thumb tracing slow circles on her temple. She fell asleep, tasting the possibility of connection, but woke to an empty chair and the echo of footsteps retreating down the hall. The gesture never repeated. Something inside her cataloged the moment as a museum artifact, beautiful, untouchable, already past. Christmas arrived with twinkling lights outside and frost inside their condo. Abby asked if they could visit the Maplewood Square holiday market. Maybe share cider the way they had when dating. Ryan said work needed him. Instead, he drove past Samantha's old apartment just to hurt himself, then hurt Abby with absence. She met him at 11 p.m. with hot cocoa anyway. He mumbled, "Thanks," dumped it in the sink, and fell asleep on the couch in yesterday's clothes. Grandma Edna, sensing a storm, mailed Abby a quilt embroidered with wildflowers and an index card. Sugar, love is a seed. Water it, or walk away and find better soil. Abby tucked the quilt around her shoulders and watered harder. March roared in with Midwest sleet. Ryan roared back with finality. Abby was simmering rice pilaf, apron dusted with paprika, when he leaned against the doorway like a corporate auditor, ready to close a file. No prologue. I want a divorce. The spoon stilled mid-stir. Steam fogged her glasses, but not enough to blur his hard jaw. Or the sentence that followed. I never loved you, Abby. My heart's always belonged to someone else. The rice scorched. The air thickened. Abby turned off the stove, untied her apron with surgeon-like precision, and walked upstairs. Behind the locked door, she curled under Edna's quilt and counted the ways silence can scream. Ryan moved out emotionally that night, but physically he lingered. Too cowardly to pack boxes. Too self-absorbed to notice Abby's morning nausea 4 weeks later. She stared at the pregnancy test as if it were a bomb she'd both feared and longed for. In the reflection of the bathroom mirror, she saw a woman who had waited, begged, and finally been handed a reason to save herself. When she told Ryan, he didn't flinch. He calculated. Terminate it, he said flatly. I'm already gone. Don't chain me to a mistake. The words sliced cleaner than any scalpel. Abby inhaled, exhaled, and whispered, "All right. I'll schedule the appointment." Her voice was snow-soft, but foretold avalanches. St. Clair's Family Clinic. 9 a.m. She scribbled in her planner for Ryan to accidentally see. That night, she packed only what mattered. 2 duffel bags, prenatal vitamins, and the certainty that love shouldn't beg to live. At 2 a.m., she glanced at the couch. Ryan sprawled across it, TV remote hanging from inert fingers. Then she stepped through the front door and into a drizzle that felt like baptism. The taxi driver headed south toward Willow Creek, Tennessee. As city lights receded, Abby pressed a hand to her barely there bump. A tiny flutter answered, as if the baby were knocking back. "You're not alone." Leaving Cedar Hill felt like falling off a cliff blindfolded. But staying would have been a slower death. Back in the condo, Ryan woke to a house stripped of scent and song. No coffee aroma. No sticky notes. No never too sweet good mornings. At first, he thought Abby was punishing him with silence again. Then he saw the open closet. The missing quilt. The calendar page showing today's date circled in red. The clinic. Panic cracked his ribs. In a blur, he pulled on jeans, keys jingling like warning bells, and sped through amber dawn. Toward St. Clair's. 30 minutes later, tires screeched outside the clinic. Ryan spotted a lone figure on a concrete bench, back straight, ponytail catching the light. For a second, hope punched him in the throat. Abby hadn't gone through with it. But as he sprinted closer, the woman stood too tall, wrong jacket, a stranger. Ryan's knees threatened mutiny. Inside the lobby, a receptionist tapped at a keyboard. "Miss Taylor checked in," he barked. She shook her head. No appointment under that name today. Confusion thundered into dread. Ryan stumbled outside, facing hands as a bus rumbled past heading south. He didn't notice the destination sign, Willow Creek. 11:05. Thanks for watching. Sorry for the interruption, but we hope you will help us improve our content in the future. If you were Abby's best friend, would you have advised her to stay and fight for the marriage, or leave the way she did? Why? Do you think Ryan's sudden panic is genuine remorse, or just fear of losing control? Have you ever witnessed or lived a moment when silence hurt more than words? Share your story below. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm reading every single one. And part 2 is coming soon. Meets resolve. 1. 0-10 words. A week after arriving in Willow Creek, Abby Taylor learned that small towns breathe differently. The air smelled of wet cedar and cinnamon rolls from Hart's Corner Bakery, run by her new friend Jenny Hart, a woman who laughed like she'd been paid in joy. Every dawn, Grandma Edna opened the screen door and announced the weather aloud, as if God needed the forecast. "Clear skies, child. Perfect day to mend a heart." Abby mended in fragments. She tilled soil behind the farmhouse, planting snapdragons instead of memories. She stitched baby blankets beside Edna's crackling radio, humming old Motown while the child kicked rhythmic approval. Nights, she filled a composition notebook with letters to her unborn son, Noah, so he would grow up fluent in hope. One Tuesday, Dr. Harold Green slid the ultrasound wand across Abby's belly. On the flickering monitor, Noah fluttered his fingers like a tiny pianist. Abby's breath hitched when Dr. Green chuckled. "He's waving hello, or telling us to turn down the lights." Abby laughed, and the sound surprised even her. It was the first time in months she felt rust crack off joy. 200 miles north, Ryan Mitchell was unraveling. He printed maps of every clinic within 3 counties, red-circling addresses like a detective chasing ghosts. He'd quit shaving. Guilt had colonized his face in scruffy patches. Each night ended at Cedar Hill's riverfront bar, where even the jukebox seemed to mock him with country ballads about men who realized too late. One evening, the bartender slid a phone across the counter. "Dude, your cell's blowing up." The caller ID flashed. "Mom." Ryan pressed decline. He couldn't admit to his family that their prized sense of responsibility had detonated his marriage. Instead, he returned home to the echo of Abby's post-it notes, still clinging to the fridge like pleas from another timeline. And then fate, bored with his inertia, threw him a breadcrumb. A dusty envelope arrived. Forwarded mail. Addressed to Abigail Taylor Mitchell at Hemlock Road, Willow Creek, TN. Ryan's pulse hammered. He Googled the town. Population 421. 21 Main Street. Zip code he'd never memorized, but now felt burned onto his rib cage. At dawn, he packed a duffel, scrawled a note to his boss, family emergency, and aimed his car's headlights south, carving through blue-gray mist. Willow Creek's welcome sign read, "Where neighbors are family." Ryan's stomach twisted. He'd failed at both. He parked on Maple Street, stepping into sun so bright it felt sarcastic. Across the road, Jenny Hart balanced a tray of bear claws outside her bakery. Ryan glanced up just as Abby exited, laughing when Jenny swatted flour off her sleeve. Abby's hair was longer, her cheeks flushed with Tennessee summer. But it was her. Then he saw the swell under her loose cotton dress. His knees softened. He ducked behind a pickup, breath ragged. Abby selected a cinnamon roll, paid, and ambled down the sidewalk, one hand steadying her belly. Ryan watched, paralyzed by awe and shame, until a truck horn snapped him back. He tried to follow, but Abby turned a corner and vanished like a mirage. Ryan staggered into a payphone alcove. Yes, the town still had won, and dialed his own number just to hear ringing. Something normal. Instead, he got a recorded message. "Your balance is low." He slammed the receiver, realizing he'd spent a quarter, when what he needed was courage. That afternoon, clouds muscled across the sky, thick as regret. Abby and Jenny lugged laundry to a clothesline that sliced the backyard like piano wire. Thunder rolled. Jenny said, "Looks like a downpour." Abby shrugged, pegging a onesie embroidered with tiny rockets. "Rain can't scare me anymore." Inside a parked sedan down the lane, Ryan rehearsed apologies to the windshield. "I was a coward. I never deserved you. I want to earn a chance." Each sentence felt like flimsy paper boats in a hurricane. Lightning cracked. Sheets of rain hammered the town. Abby and Jenny raced for cover, but Abby slipped on slick grass. Pain streaked up her spine. She gasped, hands shooting to her belly. Jenny shouted for help, but thunder drowned her voice. Ryan, sprinting before a thought could veto, vaulted the hedgerow. He reached Abby, soaked to the bone, sliding an arm under her shoulders. Their eyes locked, hers wide with shock, his flooded with pleading. "Let me get you inside," he said, voice shaking as much as his hands. Jenny's mouth fell open. "Who?" "Ryan," Abby whispered, equal parts disbelief and fury. The name tasted like rust. They hustled to the porch. Grandma Edna opened the screen, assessing everything in a single glance. Abby's wince. Ryan's panic. The storm's fury. "Bring her to the couch," Edna ordered, firm as gospel. Inside, thunder rattled the tin roof. Edna checked Abby's pulse. Contraction. Abby shook her head. "Just slipped." "I'm okay." Ryan hovered, rainwater pooling on the hardwood. He whispered, "I didn't know where else to go." Abby bit down on 3 words. "You left first," and stared at the ceiling instead. Jenny handed Ryan a towel, like she might hand a stranger a leash for an unpredictable dog. "You better use that. Lightning's got nothing on Grandma's glare if you drip on her floor." When the storm eased, Edna motioned Ryan to the kitchen. The room smelled of coffee and judgment. She poured 2 cups but only pushed one forward. "I'll speak plain," she said. "Abby doesn't need heartbreak disguised as heroics." Ryan clutched the mug. "I came to make things right." Edna arched a brow. "Make? Or ask her to make you feel forgiven." Ryan's throat tightened. He slid the envelope, Abby's forwarded mail, onto the table. "I couldn't let my son grow up thinking his father never tried." His voice cracked on father. Edna softened a millimeter. "Words cost pennies here. Actions dollars. You willing to stay and pay up?" "Yes," Ryan replied, surprising himself with the steadiness. She nodded toward the back door. "Old storage shed's empty. Clean it out. That's where you'll sleep. You work this farm. You show up at every doctor visit. And you never raise your voice above kindness. Do that and maybe, Abby will decide if you belong in her tomorrow." Ryan swallowed rainwater and pride. "Deal." Ryan spent twilight shoveling dusty crates from the shed while night insects launched a symphony he wasn't sure he deserved to hear. Through a cracked window, he saw Abby rocking on the porch swing, quilt over her knees, whispering to Noah under a sliver moon. He raised a hand, a silent promise he would learn her language of patience, but she didn't look his way. Later, lying on a cot that smelled of hay and repentance, Ryan replayed every moment he'd squandered: the ignored notes, the rice burning, the clinic bench. Each memory was a nail in a coffin he refused to lay in. Outside, an owl hooted, asking a single haunting question. "Will you rise a better man?" Ryan stared at the dark until dawn suggested it might be possible. Ryan Mitchell's first season in Willow Creek tasted like red clay and second chances. At dawn, he hauled feed for Edna's chickens, axed dead branches, and mended a sagging fence that kept leaning, much like his resolve used to. Each task left splinters in his palms, mute reminders that redemption is earned by inches, not speeches. Abby watched from safe distances. She noticed the way Ryan asked Jenny Hart for work at the bakery, so he could buy diapers without touching Abby's savings. She saw him linger in the clinic hallway, head bowed whenever Dr. Green discussed blood pressure risks. And she felt, though never mentioned, the gentle tap on the porch rail at 10 p.m. every night. 3 raps, meaning I'm here if you need, before he retreated to the shed. Yet trust is a seed slow to sprout. One humid morning, Abby found Ryan kneeling in the garden, coaxing a stubborn rose bush upright with twine. He grinned, sweaty and unguarded, and for the first time, Abby's chest didn't tighten. She ventured, half teasing, "Roses are high maintenance." Ryan shrugged. "Worth the care if they bloom." Their eyes met. Neither flinched, and something fragile fluttered between them, like Noah had extended another invisible wave. Late July. Thunderheads bruised the sky. Abby leaned against her bedroom window, timing contractions on her phone. 10 minutes. Then 8. Edna dozed in the rocker. Ryan cleaned bakery trays 6 blocks away. When the pain jumped to 5 minutes, Abby's breath fractured. She texted Jenny. "Tell Ryan. Hospital. Now." Ryan sprinted through sheets of rain to the farmhouse, drenched before the porch. Abby tried to smile, but another contraction bent her double. He steadied her, voice low and calm. "We've got this, Abby. You hear me? We. Plural." In the truck, he recited every breathing pattern he'd memorized from the prenatal manual. Abby gripped the dashboard and hissed. "Less talking. More driving." He laughed, for the first time in ages. Someone let him. Willow Creek County Hospital smelled of antiseptic and Dawn coffee. In the delivery room, Abby crushed Ryan's fingers until both knuckles popped. Hours blurred into primal grunts, whispered comforts, and Edna's prayers drifting through half-open blinds. At 3:47 a.m., a cry burst forth, sharp, defiant, alive. Noah Taylor Mitchell greeted the world with fist-clenched lungs, ready to argue. The nurse offered Ryan scissors. Hands trembling, he cut the cord, tears blurring the sterile lights. Abby, exhausted, searched his face. "He looks like you," she murmured. Ryan pressed his forehead to hers. "Then I'd better become a man worth resembling." That sentence cracked the final wall. Parenthood arrived like Tennessee summer. Hot, chaotic, relentless. Ryan handled night feedings so Abby could heal. He taped flashcards labeled Dad Duty above the changing table, yet still managed to fasten one diaper backward. Noah howled until Abby walked in, shaking her head, laughter chasing sleep from her eyes. Weeks later, Abby discovered the shed door ajar. Inside sat Ryan's cot, neatly folded, and a stack of notebooks. Curiosity overruled caution. Pages overflowed with entries. Day 14. Abby smiled at garden joke. Might be tiny miracle. Day 29. First ultrasound. I truly saw him. Felt both terror and worship. If they never forgive me, keep writing anyway. Noah should know his father kept trying. Abby closed the notebook, heart loud. She realized Ryan's silent transformation hadn't been a performance. It was a private apprenticeship to love, recorded in ink no one was meant to read. That evening, she waited on the porch swing. Ryan hesitated on the steps, unsure of invitation. Abby patted the space beside her. Moonlight silvered the quilt around her shoulders, the same one Edna had sewn with wildflowers. I read your journal, she said softly. He winced. I didn't mean for. I'm glad I did. Abby inhaled cedar scent at night. Hearing you say sorry never mattered. But watching you live sorry, that changed everything. Ryan's eyes glossed. Does that mean? It means tomorrow you move from the shed into the house. Noah's room needs shelves. And I can't reach the top ones. A breeze rustled the cottonwoods. Ryan exhaled months of self-loathing and whispered, Thank you. Autumn rolled in, crisp and gold. Willow Creek's Harvest Festival turned Hemlock Road into a ribbon of plaid shirts and pumpkin pies. Under a canopy of string lights, Jenny Hart orchestrated a pop-up ceremony, her idea of community service. Guests circled the old oak behind Edna's farmhouse. Bales of hay served as pews. Abby wore a simple ivory dress. Ryan a charcoal vest, with Noah's drool stain proudly visible. Instead of vows, they exchanged promises written on postcards. Abby's, I promise to speak up before silence grows teeth. Ryan's. I promise to water our love daily, even when drought feels easier. Edna acted as officiant, declaring, by the power vested in a grandmother. Tired of unfinished stories. I pronounce you partners in this wild ride. Noah squealed approval from Jenny's arms, baptizing the moment with baby giggles. Cheers erupted. Fiddle music kicked up, neighbors clapping as fireflies stitched neon signatures in the dusk. Ryan twirled Abby beneath the oak. This time, his eyes never wandered. Months later, Cedar Hill's corporate tower received Ryan's resignation. He'd accepted a partnership with Jenny, expanding Hart's Bakery into Cedar Hill's first satellite cafe. Proof that roots can travel. Abby launched a blog titled Letters to Noah, sharing slices of hope with readers as far away as Dublin and Johannesburg. One night, after closing the Willow Creek Bakery, Ryan carried sleeping Noah inside. Abby was editing her next post. He paused in the doorway, heart so full it pinched. Abby looked up, smiling. That old, unwavering smile now reflected back at her. Remember the first time you made chili, and I didn't even taste it? Ryan asked. How could I forget? You were excellent at being awful. He kissed her forehead. Dinner tomorrow. My chili recipe. Might still be awful, but now I'll actually sit at the table. Abby traced the outline of his smile. Even burnt rice sounds perfect so long as you don't leave. I learned, he said, voice gravel soft. Love isn't leaving the room before the credits roll. Love is the credits. They turned off the light together, the house settling into a hush that felt like gratitude. Outside, the repaired fence stood straight. Roses in full autumn bloom. High maintenance, yes, but undeniably worth the care. Thanks for watching. Sorry for the interruption, but we hope you will help us improve our content in the future. How did this journey of Abby, Ryan, and baby Noah land in your heart? If it moved you, type 100 in the comments so we know this story found a home. Tell us where you're watching from, city and country. And if you believe someone out there needs a shot of hope, share this video forward. Love grows when stories travel.